Are interest rates rising in Canada the biggest threat to Calgary's real estate market over the next couple years? Is it all over? We've been talking to clients, reporters, local magazines, all about this topic lately, and we want to put the record straight. Despite what you're seeing and reading on headlines, is the interest rate rising going to hurt Calgary's market? You got to remember, the newspapers need to sell stories. And how do you sell stories better than fear? I don't think you can. That is a great way to sell a story. So there are two major topics that I want to talk about today. The first one is interest rates and the second one is supply. These actually, what I believe and what we believe here in our team are the potential problems going into the next couple years in Calgary's market. Now, we got to step out of the weeds. We got to pull back the curtain and take a look much further out and what has happened over the previous years, like plural, and see where the market is going. So I want to thank Lindsay Lebrecht, gave a presentation to our team. We've worked with her for years as a mortgage broker, and a lot of this information came from her, so I want to thank her for that. But let's jump in and take a look at this. So the first thing that you can see here is this is the historical information about interest rates. So you can see back here, 1990, prime was sitting at 20%. 1991, prime was sitting at 11.25%. Because when you start looking, and it might be hard to see this, but this is a fixed rate over the past 25 years. Now you've got this massive debate out there, fixed rates, variable rates. There's a whole bunch of different things to look at, but I want to show you this, and I'm going to just zoom in so you can see this number very clearly. Over the last 25 years, the average fixed rate, let me go back to this, sorry. The fixed rate over the last 25 years, it is 5.65%. That is what that's what it has been over the last 25 years. So you can see these averages as I go down, and they're all in this column. From 7.9, I don't know about you, but when I got my first property that we personally lived in after we got married in early 2000s, we were paying a 7% interest rate, right? And so you got an 8.2, 5.9, 6.4, 3.7, 3.28. So you can kind of see that 3.28 is 2021, 2022. These were the 5-year averages here. Okay, so that's just to put it in perspective of what has been. All right, so now if you look at the variable rate, it's a very similar story, and it's at 4.3%. What's interesting about looking at the average 25-year trend of fixed and variable interest rates is the fixed ones are mid-5s and the variable is mid-4s. And there typically has always been a 1% spread over the last 25 years when you look at this in comparison to where things are at. So the last 2 years have been dramatically low, right? And feels like we kind of have a short-term memory, and we're looking at it going, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to afford a house with an interest rate that's higher than 3.5, or a variable rate that you were getting? Like, we were seeing variable rates at 1.2, like 1%, 1.8%, like some of these unbelievably low numbers. But you got to remember, we were sitting in a pandemic, a global pandemic. Whether you believe it or not, something happened and the world was impacted on it. The banks of the major countries had to respond to keep things from going the wrong way. And here we are, and we're coming out of that, whatever that is. And now we are in a place where interest rates are going back to what they should be, because we got to get back there. So all that to say, what could happen though is some of those buyers who were expecting to buy a house on a fixed rate mortgage and are now possibly getting pushed into variable mortgages, and they might not like that. But one thing that I was reminded when Lindsay came and talked to our team is variable rates are actually made up of two different type of variable rates. The first one is you have an ARM and a VRM, so an adjustable rate mortgage and a variable rate mortgage. And so on the adjustable side, your payment changes with every rate adjustment. So your payment that you're making is always adjusting. Now, a VRM, a variable rate mortgage, it says here the payments remain fixed for the duration of the term, principal and interest allocation changes. So personally, on my home that I live in, I have a VRM, a variable rate, a variable rate mortgage. And so what this looks like is right now you would have, your payment and you'd have interest. Let's be honest, those are switched. Interest is sometimes bigger than your payment, but regardless, this line here in the middle goes up or down instead of the total payment changing. So that's what that means. I mean, with my chicken scratch there, but that's what that means. So if you are a little bit worried, if you are needing to go to a variable rate mortgage versus a fixed mortgage, don't be concerned. Look for the VRM type variable mortgage options, because your payment could stay the same. And it's everything inside of it that gets adjusted when rates change. So I know this is not a part of this conversation, but it's something that came up and I wanted to make sure that you saw that and were aware of it. Now, what kind of effects are we going to have on buyers because of these interest rate changes? Well, if a client was qualified for $440,000 purchase in late February 2022, today they would now be qualified for $380,000. These are some numbers she put together. She met with us about a week or two ago, and this is what she said. Fixed rates currently are using the contract plus 2% for your qualification. To me, this is something the government's going to have to look at, because right now, for someone who is getting a fixed rate mortgage and is looking at qualifying for a certain number for them to purchase or purchase price, they actually have to qualify at a rate of over 6%. So the government is hopefully this summer going to look at that, do something about that. I mean, we don't have control over it, but this is why some buyers are getting pushed into the variable rates, because their qualifying rate to get a mortgage is less than what the qualifying rate is for a fixed mortgage. So all of that to say, are interest rates going to be the problem? And are they going to put Calgary's real estate market in jeopardy in the coming years? No. There's your simple answer. I personally, we as a team and lots of conversations we've had, that is not the problem. The problem is the market that we're in and its supply with the demand that's coming in. So the red is your new listings coming on the market, blue is sales. We right now came out of a market that had more sales than new listings over this last Christmas, and prices have gone up. We are seeing a very low months of inventory for the whole city. This is not just like a few communities, the whole city. This is still a 1.4 months of inventory for the whole city of Calgary. The last time it dipped down below 2% was back here in spring 2014. And that was actually the last time we saw price increases too. All right. And so we're seeing prices going up like crazy. So the market is really changed. It's a little bit of a turmoil, feels a little bit hectic. The market is just blowing up in some senses. So why is supply a problem? Well, there are many, many people who have bought homes. So this goes back to 2013, but they bought homes well before that. All right. And so let's say you bought a home in 2018. Actually, I'm going to use myself as an example. Okay. So we have a rental property. It is in actually Red Deer, Alberta. So it's in between Edmonton and Calgary. And we bought that property for about $450,000, just shy of $450,000, $445,000. It's a duplex, legal duplex, fantastic rental. We bought that home in around 2008. And what happened is the market itself, even to today's prices in Red Deer, if we were to sell it, we might be able to sell it for what we paid for it back then. I'm not motivated to sell it. Like, we just had this conversation with our partners over this last weekend, and I'm not totally motivated to sell it. We can, rents are up, so we can get more rental income every month. And we have a good property management involved. We've kind of have it set up, so it's a good thing. And and I'm not 100% motivated to sell it because of, the property value has gone up, because it hasn't. Like we might be able to get what we bought it for. So I want to share that with you because there's a lot of people that are in that boat. There's a lot of people who are in that situation where there's just not enough motivation there. Now, there might be a lot of people that have owned something and they bought something else, and that one had to turn to a rental because they couldn't afford to sell it because it was worth way less than what they needed to take. But so it's better to take equity, move, buy a new place, that kind of thing. So if that's a situation, accidental landlord is what I like to call them. But if you're in that situation, you at a point might just say, get rid of it. Like, we are close enough, let's move on. But with the Calgary market prices jumping so high right now, not everybody was ready for this, and not everybody's in a position to make this happen, right? Over the next spring and fall and into next spring and next year, we could start seeing people being a little bit more okay with actually starting to offload their properties, which is a good thing, because right now we simply do not have enough properties coming on the market to meet the demand that is happening. And where's this demand coming from? We talk a lot about this. We have our local demand that's already been here in our marketplace, and then we have the demand that is coming in from out-of-town buyers coming in. If you want to understand a little bit about people coming here, in 2021 and into 2022, Calgary was the #1 location in all of Canada for one-way U-Haul bookings. So one of the gals on our team, her parents are moving here from BC in the lower mainland BC, and they had a reservation for a U-Haul because they were going to come to Calgary. They're moving here. A lot of other reasons. It was in the works before everyone decided to come, but they had something booked. There's nothing available. Like, they're booking, they're like, yeah, sorry, we actually don't have it. So they need to fly to Calgary, pick up a U-Haul, and go back to BC, and then they can move their stuff here. So it is really crazy what is happening in our market. We have such an increase of demand versus the supply and the type of homes and the inventory available for that. This doesn't even include the new builds, because we don't get a lot of new build type information and data. So this is all resale. The second part of that is the baby boomers. So the baby boomers, there's a lot of them that have stayed in their homes a lot longer. So if you watch the video we're putting out next week, where we talk about the 5 hottest communities, some of those communities are part of the problem, where the established neighborhoods where families were raised in Calgary, these couples, or maybe still a single adult because the other couple has passed or separated or whatever it is, there's 1 or 2 adults still in this bigger house and they haven't downsized yet. So the pandemic, lifestyle choices, maybe bringing in care, having family around to help with the house versus downsizing to a condo or something, or changing, that kind of thing. There are a lot more individuals who are staying in their houses longer. And so this is causing a lack of supply for families who want to live in these established areas, which is also pushing up prices tied to everything as well. The other part is many families who are forced to rent, so these accidental landlords versus selling, they might not be ready to sell yet. They could be, they might come on the market. These properties could at some point over the next year get ready, but they weren't prepared for this influx of buyers coming to our city. And the last one is we haven't seen strong price increases like what is happening right now in a very long time. And it's really going to be interesting to see what the market looks like as we move forward in the coming years, because I truly do not believe interest rates are going to be the thing that is hard on our market. It actually is going to be the supply that we have in our market that is going to be the bigger issue moving into 2023. And because of that, as we walk into the future months and years, there's a really good chance that we are going to continue seeing multiple offers happening in our city. And so the video I want you to watch next is a video we shot about strategies and some things you can do about winning in multiple offer situations. So go ahead and check that out, and we will see you guys on the next video.